Welcome to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I'm Sammy, a certified breakup and relationship coach, attachment specialist, former love addict, and spiritual junkie. This podcast is for you, the hopeless romantic who loves to love, and a safe space for us to explore and heal our attachment trauma, broken hearts, and love addictions. Together, we are on a mission to become the love of our own lives so we can have successful, healthy, secure relationships with others. So if you're ready to create a life and love beyond your wildest desires, you're in the right place. Your journey towards becoming more secure in love and life starts now. Hello, my beautiful beings, and welcome back to the Relationship Rehab. And if you're new here, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us here. And it is Halloween week. I hope that you are enjoying yourselves and embracing the festivities and the holidays and getting dressed up and having all the fun. And here on the podcast, I decided to do a couple of Halloween themed episodes. So last week we talked about ghosting and what that meant. And today I wanted to follow up with that with something that may happen after we're being ghosted, which is haunting and zombieing. Now, these are two very beautiful, if not spooky, dating terms that I'm going to unpack for us today. Like, what does that mean? And then we're going to talk a little bit about why exes or people that we've dated may decide to return from the dead and come back into our life, become zombies, and what to do if and when this happens. So let's get started, guys. So let's start with this term haunting. So we have the ghosting element of what we're talking about here, and then you may experience something called haunting. And this means someone who has ghosted you or an ex from your past continues to lurk on your social media, or they're lurking somewhere online and they're watching what you're doing, but they're never making that direct contact, but they always seem to be present. And I'm sure a lot of us has experienced this, right? Where we're on our Instagram, we're looking at our stories, and that ex or that person that ghosted us or got away just keeps watching our stories, and maybe they're engaging in our content in some way where they're liking it or even commenting it. And their silent online presence can start to get into our heads. They can start to give us this false sense of importance, like they must be thinking about me. They must want to come back into my life. And maybe we even unfollowed each other. So they've actively had to search you in the search bar. And we start to kind of create these stories and narratives about what's happening. Now, I'm not here to say that it's not. Some cases, there will be the occasion where, yes, that person really misses you or decided that they regretted ghosting you or breaking up with you, and they do want to make that contact. So I just wanted to pop that disclaimer in here that it does and can happen. If anything, I found a bit of research that 43% of self-confessed ghosters say they regretted their actions, and they do come back around to be able to mend things or to reconcile things or just to explain what has happened. But that leaves 57% of comebacks and hauntings and zombieings as that being not the case. But sometimes we can have these narratives, especially if we are a romantic and we have that big heart and we really want to believe that this is happening for us. This person is our soulmate, and they have realized what they have let go and what they're missing out on. And there is no coincidence here that they are coming back into our life. And this is just this big love story. So I just wanted to, first of all, validate that this can happen, but I'll also just apply some reality and curiosity to the narratives and the stories that may be coming up for you at this time. Now, this has certainly happened for me, where I have had hauntings of past lovers and flames and even exes that just keep following my stuff. And yes, I did fall into those narratives that maybe they want to reignite something with me or that they're missing me. And of course, that scratches my ego, right? To think that they're thinking of us, that they're missing us. But then what I realized in my behavior was that I was then starting to obsessively check my social media. I was looking at my stories. I was looking if they liked my post. It was almost like this obsession, this preoccupation that I needed to see that they were still following me. And then I noticed that I started to post for them. Even if this is on a subconscious level, the stories I would post or even the posts, I would be thinking, what would they be thinking if they saw this? So I started to notice I would put more sexy selfies or gym pictures just to get their attention and really lean in to this haunting. And that can be detrimental because it may not be about them wanting to come back and reignite something with you, or they may not even be missing you. And that is the hard truth. They may just be curious. They may just see your story and just flick through. Sometimes we think that they're really taking in everything that we're putting on social media, but really they're just flicking through. And sometimes I will say that I do this to my old exes and flames purely from a space of curiosity. I want to know that they're doing okay in life. I want to know what's happening in their life, because once upon a time this person was important to me. I will never engage with it, but sometimes I will check now and again, but I will never do it on a daily basis. And that's something for them to really think about within themselves. What is happening there when they are leaning into this haunting and obsessively checking your social media, right? And what to do about this? At the end of the day, if it's affecting your peace, blocking them might clear away that fog of uncertainty as to what this is. I had an experience not long ago where an old flame, I will call him, came onto my social media. We had a very turbulent exchange years ago, and we ended up completely blocking each other, right, removing ourselves from the face of each other's earths. And all of a sudden, he's watching my stories. I'm like, where did he come from? He must have created a new account, But I then decided, who do I want to be in this situation? What person do I choose to be? I don't want him lurking on my social media. I don't want him watching my stuff. And I made that decision and I set that boundary and I blocked that account because it was affecting my peace. It was disturbing my peace. So consider whether this is something that will be right for you. And by doing so, we reclaim our peace and we are sending that message to that person that we are no longer available for their hauntings or even for them. So zombieing would be that one step further and that person actually reaching out. So now we transitioned from haunting to zombieing. And this is basically a term, it's a modern term that I've come across, and it's used to suggest someone literally returning from the dead, right? They're describing what someone who has ghosted you or has been in a relationship with you, and they don't even have the decency to stay gone. They are now crawling back into your life weeks, months, even years later and reaching out. And it could be like a text message being like, hey, or it could be a comment on the social media, or it could be a random gift or calling unannounced. And all of a sudden they just back into your life and they think that they can just come back into your life. And it's funny when this happens to me, again, this happened to me this year, where an ex of mine who I was devastated when we broke up, and it took me a while to overcome the heartbreak that I felt from that relationship. And I noticed the haunting that he does sometimes, but I don't pay it any attention. I've completely moved on from that now. But then he reached out and he just says, hey, hope you're well. It looks like you're smashing it. Sending you love, something like that. And in one way, oh, that's nice. That's lovely to receive that. And I sent a lovely response. But then I thought to myself, what's happening here? And I noticed that this tends to happen for me in my life is when I'm doing well. When I'm seemingly doing well on social media, and I could genuinely be doing so. Most of the time it is the case, because I do try to be very authentic in the way that I present myself, or it could just not be the case. But when I seem to be doing really well, they reach out. They come back in because it's stimulating something within them. And we're going to dive into like why that is going to happen. So people's motives vary. Like I said, I found some research, 43% of people do come back because they regret their actions, and they may not have fully grasped the emotional impact of their actions on that other person. And reconnecting often and not provides an opportunity to just put things right, even if they don't have the intention to move forward with you. And like I said, sometimes it can be that case. We're all human beings and nothing is ever black and white here. But there are other reasons that I've come to find in my work and personal experience as to why they may be making that comeback. And sometimes it's not because they've realized all of a sudden how amazing you are, or that they have all of a sudden changed. Of course, you're amazing. And if they couldn't see that in the first place, we have to then think about what has changed for them to now see it. Are we, proving ourselves? Are we chasing them with this idea that we want them to see how amazing we are? Or are we giving ourselves a narrative and story that they must have changed? They must have done all this healing work and now they're coming back to rekindle things with me. Again, just want to preface, it may be that case, it may not. And this is why we need to get curious about these experiences. So it may be for more selfish reasons than that. And here are 4 other reasons that I have found why this should so happen. Number 1, they are bored. They are bored with their lives. They are having a moment where they are bored an evening and they're like, this person used to make me feel really good. Let me just reach out and have a bit of conversation. Or maybe I would like to have this person back in my life because nothing else is going on for me and they used to make me feel really good. Number 2, they are feeling lonely. Again, could be an evening, could be just a general phase in their life where they're lonely and they're reaching out because, again, you made them feel really good and they just want to have that companionship in their life. And maybe they have done this before and they now understand that it can be quite simple to rekindle things with you. That is not something that is hard and challenging journey, that they can easily just have that companionship back in their life when they reach out to you. The third one is that they might be seeking validation or other needs that they have had met with you. Now, we see this a lot with casual dating that has circulated around sex. If that's the need that they were getting met with you, maybe they're coming back reason, or they're seeking validation because you poured so much into them and made them feel so good. They want that. They crave that. It feels good for them and they're seeking that. Or the last one is that they were feeling rejected in some way by another and they're needing some form of love and acceptance by someone they know is all about them. And I've literally witnessed this with a friend of mine where she was dating someone and she was devastated that their connection ended. She was really hoping that this would be the one and they would, have this beautiful life together. And I knew in the community that he was still dating. And I knew the girl that he was dating after my friend, and she decided that connection was not in alignment for her and she ended it. And he felt rejected. He felt discarded. And so he circled back to my friend knowing how much she liked him because he was in need of balancing out that rejection of love and acceptance. So it's important to know these other reasons why this might happen so we can make an executive decision what we want to do and who we want to be as a person in relationship to this experience. And like I said, it all starts with curiosity, or it starts with making that decision for yourself that you are absolutely not entertaining this. But you may be here listening to this episode feeling a little bit confused as to what to do and how you want to be. So we're going to go through a couple of different scenarios of what you can do when this happens. So we've already established some of the reasons why they crawl back and they become like a zombie returning from the dead into our life. And we have started to explore and get curious of some of the narratives and stories that may be coming up for us and some of the reasons why this might be happening. I'm interrupting this episode to ask you a question. Have you taken our relationship archetype quiz yet? If you haven't and you want to know more about your attachment style, this is the quiz for you. All you have to do is answer 10 simple questions, and that will take you to your result to find out what archetype you are, whether you're the mountain, the wind, the sun, or the ocean. So to get started for free, click the link in the show notes below, and don't forget to let me know what archetype you are as well. All right, let's get back to the episode. So, like I said, they are hoping to receive this rock star attention from you that you've been giving them in the past because it feels so good. You've poured so much into this person. And maybe they've realized that they can't get that kind of attention elsewhere. Like, no one else is making them feel like a god. And they may not be all that they thought they were. So they come back in order to get their ego fed and scratched again. But just another thing, they know that they're not in it for the long run, but you make them feel good about themselves. So they text you and they try to reignite that flame, knowing they don't have that intention to ultimately give you what you want and deserve, which is commitment, which is whatever it is that you are seeking from this person that they were not able to give you. Nothing has probably changed in that regard. If they were not emotionally available to begin with, unless they've done heaps of work on themselves and got themselves to that space, it's unlikely that they are now all of a sudden emotionally available for you. But I get it. You get excited, you're being chosen again by this person that we may have put on a pedestal. And it's really tempting in that moment to respond to like, oh my God, hi, how have you been? So good to hear from you. Yes, let's meet, because it feels so good in that moment where we get that rush of dopamine when we receive that text message and we're filled with hope and excitement once more. And it's so easy to lean into that. But if you choose that route, just know what you're signing up for. Know your role in this story. Just have that understanding and awareness of what's truly happening. So what I would invite you to do when and if this happens, don't respond immediately. Take a step back. Just really give yourself that space, that pause to really think about your response rather than an emotional reaction that you're feeling in your body. So this is a great episode to save for those moments so you can really reflect on your options that we're going to go through right now and see how you want to move forward with this. So, like I said, figure out what you want from this interaction before you respond. So you're getting this text message, he's returning from the dead like a zombie. And what you will do at this point will depend on how you feel about this person. So just recognize, how am I feeling about this person? Are there still feelings there? And the more you still feel attached to this person, the more space you need to give yourself. Because maybe this is a situation where you only went on a date and they completely ghosted you and you really you were disappointed and feeling rejected in the moment, but now you couldn't care less. So for you, it's very easy to just be like, excuse me, no, I don't think so, bye-bye. Or it may not be the case. So take some time to really think through the situation before you reply. And giving yourself that space will really help you get your emotions under control so we're not being that emotional reaction. And you can then respond, if you choose to, from a place of feeling cool, calm, and collected. And also this gives us the time to really think about what that text means. What is it saying on a literal and figurative sense? So this will help you decipher if this person is genuine or not. So is it a very casual, can't be asked type of message where they're just really giving you the absolute bare minimum effort, knowing that you will respond a type of way? Or are they truly apologetic and respectful and really taking the time to craft this text message to you because they are coming from that genuine place? So the text message itself is going to say a lot about their intentions here as well. So the different options you have: to ignore them. if you are completely and utterly not interested at all in rekindling this flame, completely ignore them. You don't owe them anything. And you have decided for yourself that you're not playing this game. You are no longer available for this, and you know that you deserve to be a number one priority to somebody. You do not deserve to be ghosted or left hanging in some way, and you understand the pain that that has caused you, and you are not choosing that. Because you realize that you've got to treat yourself with so much love and respect, first of all. And when you get yourself to that space where you love and respect yourself so highly, and then you're interacting with someone who is not being that person, you will ultimately be repelled by them. So you're choosing to not respond in passive aggressiveness, because we can do that as well sometimes, right? We can be like, oh, hey, stranger, fancy, you coming back around into my life. Haven't seen you in a while. We can almost be a little bit passive aggressive in our responses as well. So we're not going to do that anymore. And we're not going to send a monologue of how badly they treated us and what they did for us, because that is not going to help the situation. We are realizing that they have made life choices. They have left you hanging. They have ghosted you. They have left the connection for whatever reason, and that is not in alignment with where we want to go in our lives, the vision that we have for ourselves. We realize that we have to stay on track. We have to pour our attention into connections and people and things that are in alignment with that vision, and we are no longer being treated like a revolving door. So let's say you are interested and curious about this zombie that is rekindling back into your life. So what I will say is call them out on their rude behavior. Don't let their rudeness slide, and let them know that this is something that you have not forgotten about. So it's not about sending that huge monologue of how they made you feel and what they did that treated you so badly, but you can just acknowledge that you have not forgotten about their behavior, and it's not being swept under the rug. And putting them in this space will help you gauge their character as well. I have also had this experience where I was not even dating, just talking to somebody, and we were just exchanging conversation, and I remember asking a question around us meeting, and there was no response for days. And then all of a sudden he comes back in. Now, again, it's important to gauge where you're at with each other, right? Because we hadn't met. We had met, but we hadn't gone on a date yet. We were still very, very much in those early talking stages. So we didn't owe each other anything. But that doesn't mean that I can't call him out on what has happened. So when he circled back around and made it seem like everything was normal and fine, he's like, hey, how you doing? Things have been busy for me. And I responded kindly and politely, but I also said, when you left me on red that one time, I felt like that was pretty rude. And I'm not really interested in someone who's going to be inconsistent in this way. Now, that might feel really scary to say, but you're just setting that standard, that boundary. This is how I deserve to be treated. And it goes a very long way, because now he's getting the message that, oh, this person is not mucking about. She knows her worth. She knows her value. And she's putting her foot down almost, like, this is how I need to show up if I want to be able to build something with this person, to reconnect with this person. So it's not about making them work for it, but it's just acknowledging that what they did was pretty rude. What they did was not okay. And then see how they respond. In my case, this person responded with so much accountability and taking responsibility, followed by effort. It never happened again. And that for me was everything. He apologized, he took responsibility, and he made effort. If he came back to me and being like, oh, like, what are you getting all head up for? Like, it's not like we're in a relationship, and he dismissed my feelings and he threw it back in my face, that would have been a big red flag. So engage their response when you call them up on their rude behavior. Another thing is to figure out their intentions, especially if you had strong feelings for this person and they ghosted you, or they left you hanging in some way, or they just very inconsistent. I mean, it's totally normal to be really anxious at this point and pretty hurt by what has happened. And the more we kind of get caught up in this dance and this cycle, that we put ourselves in a situation where we're getting hurt all over again. So instead, we're going to disrupt the cycle, disrupt the pattern, and we're going to be very forward here and figure out their intentions. So you are now reappearing into my life, maybe because you're bored or you're lonely. Maybe it's something else. But let's talk about it. What are your intentions here for coming back and sending me this message? Before I continue with this conversation, I need to know that. Again, it's gauging their emotional availability and maturity to have this conversation with you. If they do not respond or respond in a way that dismisses you or gaslights you, big red flag, and you know your answer from that space. If you decide to give them another shot, if you decide, okay, I want to give this another chance, he seems sincere, he's taken the responsibility and accountability, he has given me his intentions, and that feels aligned, just like in my experience, right? Okay, I'm going to give you another shot. Because maybe you did get super busy, or maybe this did happen and the timing was bad, and you are genuinely apologetic and wanting to rekindle. Great. Okay, so before we now go back to what we were or fall back into that pattern or cycle, I think it's important to address what has happened so we're not letting it slide, and being open and honest, having that conversation about what you want to get out of the connection or the relationship that you are both now choosing to move forward with. So you could ask things like, how do I know that you're serious about this, about working towards building a relationship together? What would be different this time? How can I know that you are not going to do that again? Are you really interested in dating and getting to know me? And my love, if they ghost you again, or they are getting inconsistent and going distant again, which a lot of us have had these experiences, especially with avoidance, where they completely fall off the face of the earth with no explanation, you have to be kind and compassionate to yourself. Don't go into shaming and blaming yourself for giving them another chance, and of course they're going to do the same thing, and I'm so stupid. No, we're not doing that with ourselves anymore. We've given them another chance out of making that conscious decision that we really believe that they were genuine, that we thought that they were ready to now work on it, and they are now showing us yet again that they do not. So their actions are speaking louder than the words. We are deciding that we deserve someone who is going to make us a priority. We are no longer choosing this, and it has to come from that second chance, because if we start to fall back into this pattern and we give them a third chance, a fourth chance, a fifth chance, we need to take responsibility for ourselves that we are actively choosing to be in this cycle and in this pattern. And that's when we really need to take a look at what is really going on under the surface that keeps us going back into these cycles and dances. And that's what we work on a lot with the coaching programs I have, especially with the anxious and the avoidantly attached individuals. Why do we keep getting trapped into these cycles? And maybe I can do a whole episode on that as well to help you gain some understanding. But we deserve someone who's going to make us a priority. So we've given you a second chance. You have failed yet again to show us that you were going to follow your intentions and stay true to them and be genuine. And that's it. We've given you the benefit of the doubt. Inconsistency has become a pattern again, and I'm better off without this. This is disturbing my peace. I am no longer tolerating it. Because the more that we tolerate these cycles, we are showing them that it's okay for them to come in and out of your life as they please. We are literally giving them that permission slip. When we cut their access to us, we are showing them that we deserve better, because you do. You are no longer chasing someone who isn't reciprocating interest in you. And it really does start with recognizing that you deserve more than breadcrumbs from someone who can't fully commit. And this could be the start of a beautiful journey for you of transformation, to really understand where are you at with your self-worth and your self-esteem, and how you value yourself and love yourself. So this could be coming into your life right at the perfect time as a catalyst for that growth, for that expansion. and to be aware as well of knowing that everything happens for a reason. Why is this happening to me again? This is obviously a lesson that I'm needing to integrate, that I'm needing to pay attention to, because if I don't, God is going to continue to keep sending me the same lesson, maybe in different forms, in different people, but the experience is going to be the same. And that's when we have to get curious as to what we are being shown here, what we are being called to. So that is that for this week, guys. This is what haunting and zombieing is all about. So if this is something that you're experiencing in your life, I hope that this episode has really supported you to gain some clarity and understanding about what's happening, to invite you into that space of curiosity, but also to weigh up your options of how to approach this situation. And as always, if you're needing further support, don't hesitate to reach out to me on Instagram. Is probably the best way, at the.relationship.rehab. All the links are in the show notes below if you need them. And thank you again so much for tuning in, and I shall see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me on the Relationship Rehab podcast. I hope that this episode has supported you in healing, growing, and evolving out of insecure attachment and unhealthy relationship patterns and into safe, authentic love with yourself and others. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just take a second to rate and review this podcast. Every rating and review from you guys counts, as it really helps this podcast to grow so it can reach more people who need to hear this content. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your IG stories, and tag me at the.relationship.rehab with your biggest takeaway from the episode. I really do love reading them. See you back here next week for another episode on the Relationship Rehab podcast.